Hello. Happy May. How's it going? I know this is a strange time to see me. Hi, Christina. How are you? Hi, Rachel. All right, so I want these streams to be nice and bite-sized, so you don't get sick of me all month, and they're just nice little things that will help you like sewing more, sew better, and have better success. That's my contribution to Me Made May this year. And if you don't know what Me Made May is, just ask. I've dubbed my little series this month, Let's Make May. And I got that name from someone in my guild. Hi, Amy. Hi, Emily. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Julie. Julie's up late. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Renee. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Tanya. How's it going? So I have the schedule up on the screen. I know it's a lot to look at. The first week is this week, and it's a shorter week. I'm going to be streaming live Tuesday through Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific, which is right now. And I know I'm usually earlier, like 3 hours earlier, but I needed a time that was really easy to be consistent with all month because I have other things, scheduled things that happen, and they would interfere with that time. And I didn't want to be like, Wednesdays at this time, Thursdays at this time. So I'm just trying to make it easy. Replays are always going to be available. I don't have my normal intro, so if you don't know that you can speed this up, if you're looking at a device, you can tap the sides of the window to back it up 10 or 20 seconds. And what else do I want to tell you? There's subtitles, so you can click on the closed captions to turn those on. Hi, Francis. How's it going? Hi, Louise. Louise is up late, too. Hi, Nancy. Hello. So this week, I wanted to do my favorite tips. I mean, I have a few, probably a few that I do myself, and I don't know if other people, oh, I have a hair in my eye, if other people do, but I'm not saying I invented any of these things. They're just things that make my life easier. So today I'm going to show you how I fold my fabric, and I didn't think this was anything very special until I showed this to a lot of folks in my community, and they were like, wait, that's actually kind of helpful. So I thought I'd pass this along to you guys, and it's not a secret, I've probably showed it to you before. Tomorrow, I'm gonna show you how I like to sew, and you see me do this all the time at live, how I do all cuffs, collars, waistbands, anything that's a band that is an identical or close to identical pattern piece on top and bottom, and you have to sew to enclose a seam. I'm going to show you how I do that on everything. It makes it a lot easier, especially if you're learning how to do those, and I still do those even though I'm an advanced sewist, because it is just easier and better. I'm not a couture sewist, so it works for me. And then Friday, I'm going to show you the easiest way to sew binding, and it's actually kind of a lot like the collars, cuffs, and bands thing. So it's not that I'm going to show you all the ways you can use binding. It's more that I'm going to show you, if you have to use binding or a bias as a facing, I'm going to show you the best ways to do that, no matter where you're doing it. So that's my goal. And then on Saturday, we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to do some jean pocket stitching. And I'm even getting some new to me stuff to print the jeans pockets on. So it's going to be like the way I do it. Like I'm no expert, but you can see how I do it. So, hi, Kate. Yeah, exactly. I know. It's going to be fun to see different people. So, this week's lifelong tips. Next week is common fitting tips. So, I just kind of pulled 5. I'm now working as a community manager and helper for Sew Liberated, and I see a lot of fitting things come there. I see a lot of fitting things in my guild, and I put together kind of the 5 things I see the most often. So, we'll go over those. Week 3 is, I hate that I called it helpful hacks, but it's catchy. And I'm just going to show you some drafting things. But I know the homesewing world likes to call it hacking. I don't. The 4th week, I'm going to do some bag making tips. That was a request. Hopefully I can pass along some things. I don't consider myself I don't know. I mean, I had a bag making business for 10 years. I knew how to sew my bags, but I did pull a few things, and I'm going to launch my new pattern hopefully that week, my quickie tool case. And then last week we're going to do some serger tips and things like that. So Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad either or. I know, I feel like I'm sorry that my audience who has really helped me build this channel, some of them are going to be sleeping, but they all are available for replay. And that's why I'm also going to keep them really short. So I won't go over the schedule every day. I just want to kick off Me Made May with this one because it's a cutting tip. So I just thought I'd show you that. All right, so let's see. The first thing I'm going to show you, I have 3 fabrics here. So here's my fabrics. They're in a pile. Hi, Justine. I have a knit. You can't see me because I'm going to be holding up the fabric. So I have a knit. I have what would be a denim. So this is a really heavy twill weave. And then I have just a yarn dyed fabric. So the first thing I do, I wash my fabric. I know not everybody might do that, but I'm telling you, it's a miracle worker. Wash your fabric, all right? This has been washed, but then the next step, I know these seem like really simple steps, but I'm telling you, do these things. So the second one, iron the selvedges. So all these selvedges right here, the selvage is the finished edge of your fabric, just iron that. If you don't want to iron the whole piece of fabric, I get it. If you have to, you might have to. Sometimes you do, right? I have a funny thing where I love to iron, but I still want the garment to be needing less ironing as possible when the garment is done and I'm washing it and stuff. So what I usually do is I will iron the selvage so that the fabric lays flat and it's easy to cut out. If there's any really big wrinkles or folds in the fabric, especially ones that happen in the laundry because it sat overnight or whatever, or it's a really big piece, or it's particularly wrinkly, I will iron those mostly out. But then, hi Danny, then I will leave it mostly unironed if I can, because the way I look at it is if I cut and sew the fabric like that and then I sew it up, I may be ironing and spot ironing it as I go along, as sewing it and assembling it. But then when I launder it, it's not going to change in size. So let's go back the other way. So let's say I pressed all my fabric super flat and crisp, but I don't plan on hopefully having to do that when my garment is sewn and out of the dryer. So if I've pressed all my fabric super flat and crisp, I go to cut and sew it, and then I launder it, but I'm like, this is actually pretty not that wrinkly. It's just a little like laundered looking or fluffy looking, and I don't press it. The garment will feel smaller because it's not ironed flat and crisp, right? It's not as spread flat as possible. So that's one of my little tips I do with washing. So once I take it out of the dryer, I usually try and fold it in the way I'm going to show you, but sometimes I can't because the selvages are just all messed up, right? They're just too crumply, right? So you need to do that. Wash, then iron your selvages, all right? And then my next one is we're going to fold it. And I'm going to say fold on grain. So look, here we have our big piece of fabric. The selvages are in my hands up here. My other selvage is parallel to the floor, right? Now what I usually do is I fold these selvage to selvage. You may need help from someone in the house or a chair. Like if the piece of fabric is really huge, I'll put it on the chair and then try and sort it out. I struggle with this too. So, all right, so now we've got this piece of fabric in our hands. All right. Now in this hand right here, all the extra fabric is hanging down, right? And then in my right hand, I've got the end, the cut end. Now can you see these weird diagonal folds right there going from my hand down this way, right? What you want to do is you want to, because I'm looking at it from this side and I can see that fold, right? That weird little diagonal fold when I'm looking at it. Let me see if I can get a better view. See that diagonal fold there? I'm focusing on that, and I have these two layers of fabric separate between, wait, where's the camera? Right here. See how I have my fingers between? And I slide these so until that wrinkle goes away. And I sometimes have to walk my hands, and I keep sliding, and see how the wrinkle now is almost gone. So I'll really look at it. I'll be like, okay, is that wrinkle actually gone? Is it almost gone, but not all the way gone? And once I feel like I've got my selvedges stacked one on top of the other, right? I've got rid of that wrinkle that's not a laundry wrinkle. I will hold it then together without my fingers in between, and I will fold the rest of it like this. All right. And then the next thing I do is I accordion fold it. And this is also a little tricky. So sometimes I get all the fabric in my left hand. I back to my cut end here. And I think of doing it about the width of a bolt of fabrics, which is I think 15 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So here I have my little end here. And I'm going to go back and forth accordion folding. So I'll go to this finger, and then I take that little fold, line it back up with the selvage. I know this is fiddly, I promise. I'm going to show you how to do this on the table. It's a little easier. I kind of shake it a little bit, and I keep going back and forth. And so sometimes I usually have big pieces of fabric. They're usually like 3, 5, 6 yards, right? I will let the fabric sit here on my chair so it doesn't get dirty on the floor. And now I just walk it back and forth. Try and keep those selvedges all lined up perfectly. Let me get a little closer. So I have my selvedges all lined up. I know this side looks kind of like a mess, but we're just focused on this little narrow piece I have here. So you can see I have these folds right here, folds, right? And then I'm going to go back and forth. I know that I lined everything up really nicely, so it's okay if they come apart, these two layers. I know that if I just stack them one on top of the other, it'll be fine. And I just go back and forth like this. And I'll show you why I do the accordion fold in a minute. So now see, I have all these folds, right? I'll even kind of run my hand in here, make sure, just like this. Now, and maybe I'll show you this on the table, but here I have all my selvedges lined up. Really nice, right? There's the fold end. And I have it accordion style. All right, so we'll set that down for now, and we'll do a piece of knit, because knit is, you know, really tricky. Oh, thanks, Danny. These are I just made these, the Tanya culottes. Yeah, this is it, the folding drama. And the accordion fold for me changed everything for cutting. And I don't have a big cutting table. I know mine's bigger than some people's, but I had really huge cutting tables for a really long time. I still did this. So, all right, so here's my knit. We love cutting knit, don't we? I think this would be a good example if this was rayon as well. So we want to, again, find our selvage, right? And that's up here at the top. Now, the one thing about knit, the one of many things about knit that make it really hard, is that this selvage edge often is really curly. Sometimes it's so curly, it's really hard to even like get it to be on the edge. So let me get this. So one of the things I want to stress with this is when I'm lining this up here at the top, I can't even see the selvage because this one's not even that curly. This is an athletic knit that I got last year, I think. All right, so one of the things I really want to stress to you is we are not lining up the edges right here, this cut edge. We're not lining it up corner to corner, okay? This is really, really important. It might end up working out that it lines up corner to corner, but the key with doing this is two things. We are lining it up on grain, and we are accordion folding it, making it easy to draw off the pile of fabric when we go to cut. These are the two big things that really make your cutting process just less painful, right? And it gives you more confidence in cutting things out on grain, especially things that you might want to consider cutting out singly like pants and sleeves, right? Okay, so here we have our knit. And I have lined this one up corner to corner, and so you see these, let me give you a bigger sample size here. Oh, I don't like doing knits either. And this one's actually not too bad because it's synthetic. Okay. So I have this one lined up at the corner, and can you see that diagonal line? I'm going to put it in my tees to show you. Right there. Right? We don't want that. You don't want that, because if you continue to go down the line of your fabric, no matter what your fabric is, and you have that line, it's going to get funkier and funkier and funkier. And it's going to be really hard to cut something on the fold because it's torqued, right? So you want to put your fingers in between again, these two layers. Try and unroll the edge. If you can't unroll it all the way, because sometimes you won't be able to and keep it that way, it won't iron either. Ironing makes it worse. Just try and keep it the same amount rolled everywhere you're holding it. So just accept the roll, but make it consistent. So now same thing, we're going to slide this till we get rid of the drag lines, and I can see on my side that it looks really good. And I usually move it and to make sure, because sometimes it's kind of sneaky, and I will do the exact same thing. Go through, pick it all up. If I start to see drag lines, I start over. I don't mess around with this. It's really fun to be kind of new to sewing and think you can outsmart the process and not cut something on grain. We love that for you. But when you realize that that's not serving you, and you're going to have to go through the painful process of cutting things on grain every time, this makes it a little easier, all right? So, I just nearly fainted. Fabric in your teeth. What? It's in the selvage. Hi, Eliza. How's it going? Hi, Kate. Hi, Terry. I forgot to say hi to you, Terry. All right, so same thing. I do the same thing, and this gets kind of messy. Like, I'm going to fold it over here, pull this up, and then I will trust that I'm going to be able to get it all, and I will grab it very consistently. So it's really nice when my husband can hold the whole end up for me, because then I'll just go back and forth, choo, 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 really quick. It's not so bad. All right, so I won't go through the whole thing of this one. You don't have to do that. All right, so now here I have a piece of denim, and I picked this because it's my biggest piece, and it's not dark. All right. No, it goes through me, not there. Well, you do. Often I have to just work on the floor. Yeah, I'm going to show it on the table too. Hi, Chippy. I thought we might see some Kiwis and Aussies. All right, so I've already cut off this piece, so we'll work at the other end. Now with denim is a twill weave. So that means you have the diagonal lines. And twill weave, while we love the way this looks as denim, it's sometimes not our friend with grain. It wants to sort of, because of the diagonal lines, it wants to kind of pull that way too. And this is why your jeans, sometimes one leg, the seam on the inseam or the outseam will rotate around your leg, right? Or with leggings out of knits, and if it's like a budget knit pair of leggings you got, one leg like rotates around your leg, that's the torquing. It wasn't cut on grain. Hi Terry, how's it going? So I think it's really important to get your denims on grain. And this is the other funny thing about them, is that while I could probably take this one here and I could cut this across the cut edge, I could put that on grain. I could see the grain and I can cut it off and true it up and straighten it out. And this is a whole other topic I can go on and on about. With the knit, that's really hard to do. With the twill, very hard to do. on things that are more of a plain weave that aren't knit or twill, you can see the grain or you can feel it with your scissors or your rotary knife as you cut across the grain. And you can kind of stay true to that and then fold it based on that once you true it. But because a lot of our fabric comes to us not cut on grain. I had the perfect sample for you guys. I thought it was here and it's not. I took it home by accident. So maybe I'll bring it in and maybe just spend a few minutes tomorrow's stream telling you about that. All right, so if I were to line this up along the cut edges here, let's see, it's not too bad. I see some stuff down here and I'm like, okay, is that fabric? Is it off grain? Still kind of dark, even though this is a gorgeous green color. And I'll do the same thing. I'll really make sure that I get this on grain. Another funny thing about denims is sometimes the selvage will be longer than the fabric or tighter. Sometimes your selvage is tighter. I've seen places where they cut the selvage off and then let the fabric relax overnight in certain factories. All right, so here we have our twill weave. We really just make sure that first yard is nice and flat, and then I will make sure that I've got this down pat so well I can just hold it in my right hand, match this up. I've ironed these selvedges, but this one's obviously a little crumpled. I get it all together. And then I will set it on the chair like this. And then I will go back and forth, cutting or folding my denim just like that. All right, and then now let me show you why the accordion fold is so helpful. We'll take this fabric over to the other. Is it this one I want? This one I want. See, I gotta move my camera over here. It's not an edited video today. Let's see if I can get that. All right, so I didn't really calibrate my face over here, so just a second. It's nice to see you all. I'm so glad you guys could make this, some of you could make this time. I know it's probably a better time for some and a worse time for others. Okay, so here I have all four of my points here. Wash your fabric, iron the selvages minimum, fold it on grain like I'm showing you, and then accordion fold. And then I'm gonna remove this. All right, so here's my accordion folded fabric. And so one of the things I wanted to show you is this one right here. You can tell it's ripped right here. This I got from the fabric sale. So I want to show you two things. Well, here, this can kind of show you. So just because, how do I want to say that? I didn't want to line these up corner to corner right here, right? That would have put it off grain. If I had done that, I would have gotten a torque line all the way down. See this little bit right here? That's how much it's off. So fabric isn't, this is a woven, a yarn dyed woven, but all your prints, those are really, you know, you just don't know how they've been printed and if they're printed on grain or not. And then when they've printed this fabric, when they mill it and everything, it's on a big flat roll. And then when they bolt it, they only bolt it for home sewing. It can get a little bit distorted. So I'm sure if you've ever tried to match a plaid and you're like, this is a yarn dyed plaid, you can't get any more on grain than that when we are buying fabric, right? But then you see it, like if you were to lay the fabric on your table on a grid like this and you had cut along a plaid line, you know, like, this one's handy. So like this one here, right? You'd cut along a plaid line, right? you know you're cutting it on the cross grain or whatever, but then you see it looks more like a parallelogram on your grid. That's because the fabric got torqued either while it was woven or when it was put on the bolt. And so then, you know, you have it and it's like lining up like this, right? You're like, okay, well, look at that. They're both on grain, right? We're on the same stripe, but they're not lining up here when I line up my selvedges. So what I do, I usually just kind of deal with it as I'm cutting a plaid and trying to match it, because I know once it's been laundered a few times, it's going to relax, and I just trust the process. But if it's really, really bad, you can wet it down and block it. So if it's just something that you're just having a lot of trouble, get it all wet, stake it out, true it up, get those stripes, you know, and I often will pull diagonally like this really hard. That usually helps, especially on like small pieces. You can just do it right there at the table and it'll stay that way. So getting your fabric on grain is just really important, right? All right, so, and I can talk a lot about that because people will argue with me about cutting grain, fabric on grain, but for a long, long time, when you used to get fabric at the fabric store, they would rip it. And this is the truest way to get it on grain. There's other issues with this, and you can't do it with every fabric. You can't do it with a twill weave. You can't do it with a knit. You can't do it with a double gauze. There's a lot of fabrics you can't, but sometimes they would pull a thread. That's what that meant. They would pull a thread and see the pulled thread, and they would cut along that like gap where the thread was. Yeah, so quilters didn't like the tearing, so I think this is partly why it became out of favor, because they were, you know, they would buy really small pieces and it would stretch out the edge, in their opinion. So this little edge, when it got ripped, would stretch out. It didn't stay that way, but sometimes quilters also don't pre-wash. They like to get the crinkle look after they sew. So there's been these like trends throughout all the sewing realms. There's so many branches of sewing. And whoever is buying the fabric in that moment is going to be the one kind of dictating what's happening at the fabric store. So cutting fabric on grain kind of fell out of practice. And some people still do it. I used to work at a place that did it, and they still do it to this day. And some of them are still doing a really good job of trying to keep it on grain. Rather than just like taking it off the bolt, you know. Here, let's see. Bolt of fabric, right? Because what you usually see is they'll take the fabric, roll it off, and then just cut a straight line. That does not mean it's on grain. But I'm getting off topic here. So let me show you the benefits of accordion folding. So here we have our project, right? And I have kind of a narrow table. It's 30 inches deep. And I think this is 6 feet long. This is my whole table. I have a little sliver here where I set things on the end. That's my iron holder, the black pole. And then over here I have a couple of books and all my weights. This is my whole table. And usually what I do is I put my accordion at one end, and then I pull the fabric. I'll put it all on camera though so you can see, because usually you don't see it. And I can just now go like this. I can just pull and it just draws off like this. So now the difference would be if you had folded your fabric like this, right? So we'll put our two cut edges together, right? So here's our 2 layers, and I've folded it in half, right? And then we fold it again because we are tidy in our sewing room, right? And then we fold it again, right? And then you go to start laying it out, and you're pulling it apart, and you have this mass of fabric over there, right? Or when you pull it like this is the top layer right now. You're pulling it on top of this layer, and you can accidentally cut these things, and they just in the way, right? So this is why I say the accordion fold is just really nice. And one way I really like to do this if I am having trouble with a particular fabric, especially slippery fabrics, I'll do it on my ironing board, because the ironing board sort of grabs the layer of fabric, and the weight of it also draping off over the the ironing board. Like, let's say this is the ironing board, and we put our whole fabric. I'll set a chair here, put all my fabric there, and then I will iron it, and then I will fold it using the chair and the ironing board to sort of help me manage the fabric. This is so second nature to me now, but yeah, I just do this little accordion. If I have it all folded on grain, only rayon's going to be a problem, but you could use clips or pins if you really had to. It gets easier and easier. I would never not do this now. Like, it's just way too convenient to not do it. And so I have a little bit of mess down there. I'll pick it back up. Make sure I got all these layers lined up. Let them hang free. And I really spend time doing that. It's really worth it. Let me get rid of all those. Oh, I'm trying to hide them. There it is. I wish you could see what it looks like when I do that. Okay. So there I have it. Shake it out. And sometimes I store fabric like this, and sometimes I don't. It just depends. But I'm very particular about how the fabric is also stored. I'll even, like this one here, it's wider here. Now you can't see what I'm doing. See how it, I don't know if you can tell, but this end is wider right here than this end down here. And I will actually sit there and take the time to do it better. Pick up another layer like this, pull it down, line it up, and do it again. You find lots of different ways to do the accordion fold. You could do it really narrow. If you have a really, really short table, you could make your stack this wide. And whatever works for you, it just helps you manage the fabric. And then there we go. I have my, accordion fold. And you can put the fold towards you. And it looks really nice too. And then if I store it like this on my shelf, I do this. I pick up a fold and I put it inside, just like this. We could go get into the way I fold all my fabrics on my shelf too. Yeah, you can make the folds whatever, I missed it over here. Make them however big works for you. Because we all have different work surfaces, right? I did fold selvage to selvage originally when I was showing you how to fold on grain. So this right here is a folded piece. See that? Yeah, so yeah, if you want, I could show you, like, let's see, let's see, what do I got? Here's a good one. So sometimes what I do, I know people get those comic book boards, but I just have one piece of cardboard. That's all I do. So this fabric I didn't accordion fold yet. I just folded it and got it in because this is one of the ones I got on Saturday at the American Sewing Guild sale. So I just brought in a ton of fabric in here, and I just wanted to make sure that it was at least folded so that it wasn't going to get really wrinkly. This is a jacket lining. So this one still needs to be done, but almost every one of my fabrics will be done. Let's see, is this, yeah. So this one's polyester probably, so it's not really going to get wrinkly. So this is a good example of one that I will fold in a particular way on my shelf sometimes. And I'll show you how to use the cardboard, because I think that those boards are really great, but I personally just don't want to have to buy one more thing. And if I didn't have a use for all of them, I'm actually not going to accordion fold this one, since it's going to be a while before I use it. I will fold it the traditional way, right? Just like this. I still keep all my selvedges lined up. This is so nice when later on. It's like a gift to yourself. All right, and so now what we see, this is the selvage end. This is the selvage end. This is the fold end of the fabric, as if it's on a bolt, right? And for my particular shelf, I experimented with a few things. I found that something like that, let's see. I can kind of eyeball it now, but as long as it's something like that, that's going to work on my shelf. And I always fold the fold in first. That's where I was going wrong over there. And I poke this one in. I don't know why I was trying it the other way. Just like that. And then my last little tip, even though this wasn't what I was going to cover today, is, so you see my shelf right now is overflowing because all the stuff on top I just got in, and I tore it all apart looking for good demos for you guys today. So there's room down there. But I always store my fabric like this, like a bookend, like a book on a bookshelf. And the reason I do this is so that if I want one from the bottom of the pile, there's no bottom of the pile to pull it from. They're just like books. Can you kind of see these right here? And even this right here, little shelf I have. But this pile right here I just got from the sale. And same with, yes, this pile with the pink in it, this one right here. I just got that from the sale. This one right here I just tore out of my shelves looking for good things for you guys to try. So that is one of my little storage shelves. So then you have this little end here. I have one last tip, and then I'm going to let you guys go, unless you have questions. If you are in a really, really sunny room, I highly recommend storing your fabrics. It won't look as nice with the selvedges facing out from your shelf. This really helps prevent the fold from getting sun bleached, you know? So I would probably do something like, I don't know. How would I do that? In my current setup, I'd probably hide it like this and just put my selvedges facing out. This way you can kind of still see what the fabric is, but this right here, we don't care really as much. We don't want the sun to damage our fabric anyway, and sun is one of the fastest damaging things to fabrics. So if you're ever buying fabric that's been sitting in a store window, ask them how long first. So yeah, I'm a folding genius, I have to admit. I really am. With fabric, I can really fold fabric fast now. And it's just nice. It's really nice to manage all my fabric like that, right? It feels good. It's kind of a just one more moment you get to spend with your fabric that will let you kind of decide what you want to do with it. You know, like you're spending time with it and kind of, I don't know, it's just really nice. When it's accordion folded, it's a lot harder to do this with. So I usually find a little hole and shove it in there, but the accordion doesn't lend itself as well. I just try and be really consistent so that they all fit on my shelf like that. So, oh yeah, you can use a quilting ruler if you have the right size. So you bring the left selvage to the right is what I mean. I think this is very helpful. So you didn't bring the left selvage to the, I did. Yeah. You're a ripper. Yeah, same, Nancy. Like this I got at the sale, and I've been wondering, I got this for a shirt for Michael. It is a really small yarn dyed fabric. $1 I got this for. There is potentially flaws I can see right here throughout. It's not a big deal. It's in the selvage. No plaid to match, but it still has that vibe. But see right here. So if we just continued this, rip, I probably have enough. That's probably putting the rest of it on grain, right? And let's see if I keep my fold here. And you can kind of see how it's different. I used to work at a fabric store that cuts on grain. They still do to this day. And I don't know how many times I had to explain to people that we were cutting their fabric on grain. So we would often take the bolt of fabric like say it was quilting cotton like this, and we would open it up and we would start from the selvage end, and like this one, I can see the grain on this. I still know how to do this. And we would cut, right? We would open it up and cut the grain. We would open it up a lot, actually, like this. And you can even if it's scrunched like this, I can still see the grain. I can hear it too. I'm not as good as I used to be. We didn't have a rotary knife, by the way. We had these huge shears. They were incredible. And look, I'm gonna run out of space here, see? So now the way to test that to see how good I did, I can actually see it winging out right here, right there, right? So the test to see how good I did would be to rip it. And if I got a nice parallel piece, I would know I was pretty close. I did okay. We knew that end was kind of funky down there, so I did pretty good. But when we would do this we wouldn't rip because quilters were definitely not in favor of ripping anymore, but we would cut on grain. And sometimes if the fabric was put on the bolt really poorly, see how this looks like this now? Have you ever seen a bolt of fabric like this? Probably not, because they cut it perfectly. And so they would see me pull out a bolt, and sometimes it would look like this. I'm not joking. It would be like this, on the bolt, still folded, all lined up at either end. And yeah, I would too, Nancy. They would see this and they would get so, I could tell, I always knew the customer that was gonna bring it up, you know. They were like, which side are you gonna measure from? And I would measure from the fold. It wouldn't matter because we cut on grain. It doesn't matter if you cut on grain which end you measure from, because you're going to get a perfect 18 inches, half yard once I'm done. You can measure it here and you can measure it here. It may look like this, but once it's washed or blocked, it's going to be fine. And so we would explain that to them and reassure them. And the ones that weren't traveling, we would see them again. They were like, you're right. Thank you so much. This has been so much easier to cut out. And like, you know, you would have to reassure them, you know, and sometimes we'd pull a thread. If it was like corduroy is another one, you can't cut on grain, but you can pull a thread, but it is excruciatingly time consuming. So a really good example is curtains. So let's say you wanted to buy polyester chiffon for your curtains, nice sheer curtain panels, right? And the width of the polyester chiffon is 45 inches wide. And 2 of these widths would be perfect for your window, right? You're gonna get 2 panels. It's gonna be the perfect amount of gathers, because you have like a 1.5 ratio for gathers, right? You've measured your window, your window's like 30 inches. You're like, oh, perfect, 45 inches for this side and 45 inches for that side, for a 60-inch window. Sorry, I'm doing the math too fast. You decide all I have to do is get the length I want, 2 lengths, hem it, and put a rod pocket in it. Well, if it wasn't cut on grain and you did this, your curtain will hang at an angle. It doesn't matter if it measures the same on each selvage. It will hang at an angle because it's not on grain. It's like trying to hang this up, you know, but it's actually a parallelogram, you know. I don't even know if I can fake it, you know. Like it's looking more like this, and you can't tell, right? You can't tell. And then you put your little rod pocket in there, and you hem it, and you're like, why is my curtain hanging sideways? It's because it wasn't cut on grain. So, yeah, grain matters. All right, well, that's it. I don't want to go on and on. You know I can. You guys encourage me. But I hope you guys find that useful. I hope this helps your cutting process. I'll be here tomorrow, same time, same place. And I'll be talking about the easiest way to sew all collars, cuffs, and waistbands, or any kind of band, any kind of stand collar, anything like that. The best way to do it, a lot of you know this already probably because you've been here before. and I'll show you tomorrow how to do that. So same time, same place. And these will all be available on the replay, and there's more information in the description if you click the title of this stream. And you can find out more about me on my website if you want to. Cool. Thanks for coming, you guys. Happy Me Made May. No pressure in this space. You don't have to post every day. Just sew and have fun this month, right? Hit like. Leave a comment. That actually helps me even more. Cool. Yeah. Oh, I put this video in a playlist, 2 playlists. I made one called Let's Make May, and I put them also in the what's the playlist I have, like quick how-to essential videos or something? It's got a really bad name. They're both in there. So if you look in the playlist, you'll see them all. So great. Thanks, you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.